This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to Calm AF. If this is your first time here, welcome. Welcome to our home. You found us. We found each other. Hooray. I always love it. Love it when I find my people. So happy to have you here. You belong. You are welcome always. So before I start today's episode, I do want to say this, the audio quality may sound a little bit different. The reason being is because I could not get my shit together and get this episode recorded before Dave had to leave. And so I am in the studio, but I am doing this not with all the equipment because I cannot be trusted to do the equipment. We have learned this the hard way many times. So I'm just doing it in my phone with my AirPods. I always call them the wrong thing. AirPods. All right, so here's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about doing hard things. A couple weeks ago, we talked about hard now or hard forever. If you haven't listened to that, that is like a fan favorite episode for sure. I've been hearing so much about it. But what I want to talk to you about today is like, what do you need to know? How do you do the hard things? Okay, like, yeah, I want to do the hard thing now so I don't have to feel like my life is hard forever, but how? Help, right? So I've just been really inspired by the people in my life right now who are doing hard things. I had a client just last week. She quit her job, this job that she has had forever, that she has stayed because she felt like she had to. It was the responsible thing. All the rules in her rule book were telling her, like, you don't just leave a job. You don't just do that. That's not a thing we do. But that job was sucking the life out of her. She's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And she did it. She quit, even though she was terrified. I had another client break up with her boyfriend. And it was simple, right? Like she just wasn't interested in a partner who didn't meet her standards. Did you know that you're allowed to have standards in a relationship? And did you know that you're allowed to not have that relationship if the person doesn't meet your standards? And listen, you can have as high standards, you get to decide on those standards. It's up to you, right? But did you know that just because someone isn't emotionally mature or they aren't wired to be emotionally mature, that it is totally okay for you to say, like, that's just not going to work for me. That just doesn't, I'm not interested in that. Maybe I should do a whole episode on that idea. Yeah. So that's another one. People doing hard things. A friend of mine, she had a breakthrough in her marriage. She's been struggling in her marriage for a long time, and she had this huge breakthrough, and it didn't break the way she wanted it to. And she's sad, but she's doing the hard thing. Like she's not in the limbo anymore of doing the next thing. She's done it. She's done the hard thing. And now she's in the process of figuring out what's next. Right. And that's what we do. Like, that's what it means to go through this. Is the hard thing is hard, but then you've done it and you get to just figure it out. You get to move out of limbo. And there's more. I have so many more examples of people doing really hard things in the last, week or month. And here's the thing about creating a calm AF life. If that's what you want, you are likely going to have to do hard AF things in order to create it. You're going to let go of habits that feel like security blankets. You're going to have to let go of people that simply aren't meant to be a part of the next leg of your journey for whatever reason. You're going to have to say hard things to people and know ahead of time, like, before these words even come out of your mouth, that they're going to be upset by it. They might be mad at you, disappointed in you, disappointed in themselves. They might feel bad about themselves because of this thing you say, or they might feel bad about you, or upset by you, or confused by you, or they might disagree with you, or think you're crazy, or think you're doing everything wrong. That is the thing that you might have to do. You're going to have to say no to people in your life that are very much accustomed to you saying yes all the time. You're going to have to stop energy managing and people pleasing the people who only know you as that, as an energy manager and a people pleaser, right? You're probably going to go ahead and feel guilty and bad and sad and uncomfortable. And when I'm saying this, you might be like, never mind, Kristen. I don't want a calm AF life. Let me just stay here. Let me just stay here where I know it sounds horrible, right? Like, why would I do that to myself? It's actually a simple answer. Because the life you're living right now is also hard, but it's not changing. Like, you're not doing anything about it. By avoiding doing the hard things, you are avoiding the change. You are committing, you are relentlessly committed to staying the same by not doing the hard things right now. We want to switch it. We want you to be relentlessly committed to doing the hard things so that you can create the life you want. And I know how this feels in my body, living that way, living the way where I was like just avoiding, like just trying to get through the day, going through the motions, staying stuck in circumstances that I just didn't like. It felt like a slow death. And I know that sounds super dramatic, but here's what I mean by it. Obviously, I was not actually literally dying, but I also wasn't living at all. I didn't ever feel alive in my body. I just felt like I was here. And I just got to this place where I'm like, what am I doing? This one precious life thing, that's real. I have been shown this over and over and over in my life, that it's precious and it's unpredictable. You don't know how long you have. Be alive while you're alive, right? And because I lived this way, right, in that place where I was afraid to do the hard thing, I was never able to be present. I was never able to just settle in and be part of my life. Now, I have done a lot of hard things in my life, and I have also stood right beside a lot of people while they do hard things in their lives. And here is what I've discovered. It is always worth it. I was racking my brain earlier trying to think of like any instance for myself or for someone that I know where when they did the hard thing that they knew they needed to do, that they knew was the right thing, but felt really, really hard and scary. I was trying to think of someone who was like, and it was the worst thing I've ever done. Big mistake. And I couldn't think of anyone. Like, I've thought of people, I can come up with ideas and memories of things where it, adjusted or it changed after I did the hard thing, but never doing the hard thing. It was never a mistake. And this always reminds me of jumping out of an airplane. You've probably heard me talk about this before. When you jump out of an airplane, the scariest moment, I assume, I've not done it, I assume, is that moment before you jump out, right? Like the anticipation, fear that's building. And you're like, I could just stay here forever. I could just stay right here on the side of the plane, inside the plane where I'm safe. I could just stay here, totally fine. Like, the hardest thing is like stepping out of the airplane. And the jumping part also scary. I am sure. I am sure there is fear while you are plummeting through the sky. But you're doing it, right? And the difference there is that you're feeling that fear instead of thinking about the fear, right? Like, you are actually in the presence of fear and you're experiencing fear instead of like imagining how scary it's going to be. There's a difference. One will drag on and on forever, the thinking one. And the other one is like, well, I'm doing it. Guess I got to figure this out. Guess I got to pull these strings and my parachute comes out. So today, as so many people around me are doing the hard things, I'm so inspired by them. They're doing the hard things now so that they don't have to feel like they're in a hard thing forever. Here are the things that they are doing that are allowing them to step out of their plane. Here's how they're stepping out, okay? They have learned the skill of emotional regulation. They have become proficient nervous system regulators. I did not say perfect. I said proficient. They are not emotionally fragile. Okay? They understand that the outside isn't going to change their inside. They are resilient. They have become emotionally more mature because they have learned the skills, they have practiced the skills. So think about it like this. Before they stepped out of the airplane, right, before they even got in the airplane to go skydiving, they sat in class and learned how to use a parachute. So that when they're standing there, door of the plane open, looking out at nothing, and their nervous is saying, do not do this. This is a mistake. Don't do it. Not only are you going to die, but you're going to hurt everyone. You're going to fuck up your kids and your marriage and your career and your life. Okay? Because trust me, that's the nervous system's job right before you do a very hard and scary thing. That's what it's supposed to do. But you've taken the parachute course. Right? You've learned how a nervous system works. You've learned how your nervous system works. You've learned how to regulate your nervous system. You know before you get up into that plane, before you are standing on the edge waiting to jump out, you know what's going to happen. You know these thoughts are going to show up. And so now you're prepared to say, I hear you. I hear you. Breathe, breathe, breathe. I acknowledge the fear. Yes, this is very scary, and it's okay. I am prepared for this. I know what to do. Right? When you know how to use the parachute, AKA when you know how to regulate your nervous system, when you know how to handle your feelings instead of avoiding them like you normally do, like those feelings that we avoid like the plague, like uncertainty, shame, and guilt. When you know how to do those things, then you're going to be able to access your neocortex, that higher level thinking, where that part of you that says, I know what to do. I know what I need to do. I know this is the right thing for me. That part is unavailable when your nervous system is not regulated, when your emotions are intense, are too intense. And I want you to remember that regulated doesn't mean calm. Okay? If you're waiting to feel calm before you do a hard thing, that's not a thing, right? Like if you're waiting to feel calm, like I can't jump out of this plane until I feel very calm and zen about it. That's not going to happen. Maybe it will happen if you've like jumped out of the airplane 1,000 times. Maybe. But for most of us, I'm sure there's a tiny percentage of people who feel calm when they jump out of an airplane. But for us non-bonkers folks, we're probably always going to feel something a little bit different than cool, calm, and collected before we do a hard thing. I will say this, it does get easier the more you do hard things, right? There's never a time if I have to set a boundary or if I have to have a conversation with someone that I know is going to be difficult, I'm not like, yes, this is going to be great. I love this. I don't look forward to doing hard things, okay? But it's more like, fine. I am willing to step out of the plane quickly so that we're not going to drag this shit out. Okay. So learning the skill of emotional regulation and nervous system regulation. That's the first thing people do and learn so that they actually take the step out of the plane. The second thing, you've got to be prepared for what's going to be happening inside of you next. Okay. Now I'm guessing for you, if you are someone who's thinking, I've tried to do the hard thing before, but it's always temporary. And before long, shit is back to exactly what it was like before. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. You have to know and be prepared for what will happen right after you take the step out of the plane, right after you do the hard thing. You're going to have a moment of exhilaration and relief, like I did it. And then you're going to go right back to doubt. And the only reason why is because the familiar overrides desire. You have probably heard me say that 1,000 times now. Familiar overrides desire. Your old beliefs, your old stories, your old thoughts are going to be way more available and ready for you than your new ones for quite a while. You've got to go into this process of doing hard things, knowing for sure that as soon as you do that hard thing, as soon as you step out of that airplane, your protective self, those thoughts are going to be waiting for you right around the corner. Shouldn't have done that. What were you thinking? Oh my God, fix it. Go back and tell them you were kidding. Go back and grovel. Say you were sorry. Just fix it. Undo it. You did it wrong. You made a mistake. Your life is going to fall apart. I hope you're happy. You need to absolutely expect this is going to happen after you do the hard thing. Please hear me. Know going into it that first there's probably going to be this, I did it, but very soon afterwards, the old shit will show up, the boss brain, and the boss is not happy. Those thoughts are going to be loud, loud, loud. This is going to happen. Please hear me that when you do the hard thing, you leave the job, you leave the relationship, you set the boundary, you follow through, you stand up for yourself, you don't back down. I promise you that right after that parasympathetic nervous system, right, those chemicals flood your system, give you that feel good feeling. I promise you that right after that, when the chemicals go back to business as usual, the boss is going to be right there. And I also promise you that your inner boss is simply feeding you fear, not truth. Please don't forget that the majority, like more than 90% of your thoughts, are not facts. They are shitty rules you've gathered on this life journey that were handed to you from everyone else that you haven't questioned. You will think you need to go back to the way things were after you do the hard thing. That is not true. Here's the third thing. When you are in the process of doing hard things to create the life that you want, you need to have at least one person in your life who needs nothing from you, who has no reason for you to be anything other than who you are. You need at least one person in your life who doesn't need you to be the person who energy manages or people pleases or says yes to everything or fixes all the problems. Listen, our friends and our family are wonderful people, but they know us as who we've been pretending to be. Our protective selves, that's who they know. If you are always the one that everyone goes to in your social circle and there's no balance, so you're like, I'm going to stop doing that, your friends are probably going to be like, what the hell? I didn't sign up for this. You're supposed to be the person I go to. What am I supposed to do now? This was the deal. I bring the problems, you fix them. Okay, and let me reiterate that this is not because they're bad people. It's just because that's the relationship you created with your unregulated nervous system and immature emotional skills. So you created this, but you are allowed to change that anytime you want. And the people around you are allowed to not like it one bit. And my take always is, so what? Do it anyways. Not because we don't love the people around us. I love my people fiercely. I would never in a million years ever purposely want to hurt someone, want to disappoint someone, want to hurt someone's feelings. And I'm allowed to think that, and I'm also allowed to think, but what about me? What about me? Don't I matter just as much as you? If you don't think the answer to that is yes, that's your work. But why do I have to fit into this box forever when I don't fit in this box just so you can be comfortable? Why do I have to be uncomfortable just so you can be comfortable? Sounds to me like a you problem. Sounds to me like if you need me to stay in this box so that you don't have to be triggered, sounds like you need to learn how to regulate your nervous system, learn how to question your rules, learn how to become more emotionally mature, because my discomfort is not less important than yours. Something I've said for more than a decade is if the people you surround yourself don't know you, it's your job to show them who you are, the real you. And if you show them who you are and they don't love you for that, find new fucking people. Find a person, a therapist, a coach, a new friend, a community where you simply get to show up as yourself, as a way to practice showing up in the world as who you really are, not as who you've always pretended to be. Show up in a different way as a way to prove to yourself that you are lovable just as you are, that people do take interest in you, even when you're showing up as your weird ass self, that you are worthy of kindness and respect and care. And you don't have to do anything to earn that. You don't have to do something in order to earn that. You are worthy just as much as everyone else. And you don't have to earn that by being different than who you are. If you don't have that in your life, come sit with me. The Calming It's Life community is created for this reason, right? I'm honored to be right by your side while you do the hard thing. It's a privilege for me to get to watch people come into their authentic selves. Doors are always open, okay? Who you are is the magic. It's your purpose. It's why you're here. Being your most authentic, real, true self everywhere you go is hands down the easiest way to live. I have a couple of clients who say this to me all the time. Oh my God, it is so much easier to walk into a room knowing I don't have to overthink a goddamn thing. I just get to show up. How great is that? In order to create a calm AF life, you are going to have to do hard AF things. Scary? Yes. Worth it? 1,000,000%. Start now. Love you so much. I'll see you next time.
If you love this podcast, you will love Calm AF Life. It's a self-paced, lifetime access DIY course that teaches you all the concepts that I talk about here, from nervous system regulation to manifesting with ease. And since we know that true change doesn't happen just because you know what to do, you also get an all-access pass to coaching calls and accountability so you don't stay stuck and you don't give up. The best investment you could ever make is in yourself. Calm AF Life is here for you now. Life's not waiting. Let's get you aligned with your Calm AF self, gorgeous soul. I cannot wait to meet you. Go to KristenFinch.com and join me today.